Howdy, Evan Gao, indie developer of StoryOrigin here. I recently had a conversation with Scarlett Braden and I got a lot out of the conversation, so I wanted to share and I hope that you'll get something out of it too. Despite her being big into Amazon ads, she says that her mailing list has actually been her most valuable marketing channel. So we talk about how she built her mailing list and how she uses it to get reviews and direct feedback from her readers. She shares a lot of actionable advice, including one thing that I loved was that she shares pictures of her pets from her readers in her newsletter in order to build a community in her newsletter. And she's got a lot more actionable advice than that. I've gone ahead and compiled some clips from our conversation, so let's hop right into it.
I think that the mailing list is the most valuable piece of marketing that I have. Even though I'm really big into Amazon ads and promotions and things like that, for me, having that direct access to the readers is invaluable. And through that, I have been able to start one on one conversations with those readers and get a lot of valuable input as to where my stories go next, which books I write next, things like that. But more than that, it has helped me to develop my ARC team, which they are amazing at making sure that that final product that goes out is as perfect as it can be. And they get those reviews out before the book launches for me. So as soon as it launches, there's already reviews on Amazon. And I also have been able to utilize that newsletter, like I said, to make some personal connections. And through those personal connections, I have had audio um, actors recommended to me that would be great for my book. Just all sorts of information comes from these readers. A lot of times it's other authors that have joined the newsletter list. And so the resources that come from that are also invaluable, besides just the direct feedback. Before cross promotions and newsletter swaps, I was floundering. I was counting on those signups from my website that probably gets 12 people a year that visits, or from the back of the book. And I did not really understand how to utilize the groups and the newsletter swaps. I had seen the things about um, fill out my form and I'll promise to feature yours and you feature mine kind of things. And I tried to do a couple of those, but it was so iffy, and sometimes they panned out, sometimes they didn't, but it was a lot of work and it relied on my brain to remember all of this. And for me that was definitely a challenge that didn't seem like it was worth the work. Um, that was one of those 80% of the work only nets 20% um, of the value. So when I got into StoryOrigin and saw the setup there, it's just so much easier and less time consuming to hop into those. And I have some good friends who like organizing these things. I do not, and I've been with StoryOrigin for probably over 2 years, I think, and have never had a newsletter that I didn't have something to share with my readers, and with very little work from my point of view, you know. So that has been amazing. When I was just starting out, I was of the opinion that if I emailed too often, they would all unsubscribe. And so I really would only email when I had something about my books to share, which was really far in between. I didn't understand that by emailing on a regular basis that they become involved with me and my life, and that's what makes them such great fans. So I I really was shooting myself in the foot with every turn, everything I did. I did everything all wrong. And now to sit down and do a newsletter, I mean, I used to would worry about it forever. And I have one that's due out tomorrow. I haven't even started thinking about it. And I don't have to, because even though I have like a cram packed schedule, I usually can sit down and do a newsletter in an hour to an hour and a half. And that's with nothing pre planned, nothing prepared. Um, I love the fact that with StoryOrigin, I get an email that says, "Hey, someone wants to do a swap, or there's a new promo," and I can click on it and say, "Yes, that's for me." No, it's not. It's negligible time that's not even calculable to me. Um, it's 2 minutes at the most to deal with something like that, and it's so spread out. Um, the one thing I do have to watch is not forgetting to mark that a newsletter is full, because I like to keep my mentions down to about five or six between swaps and group promos. I feel like that gets everybody gets a lot of attention from the readers. If I go more than that, then it seems to taper off the clicks down the list. So for me, I do a newsletter twice a month, and so for probably less than 3 hours a month, I have this amazing community. And so this year, the new thing that I'm doing with my newsletter is every newsletter features one of my readers' pets as the picture at the top of the thing. And so as a couple of them have gotten done, more and more people are saying, "Well, I want my dog to be on there. I want my cat to be on there. I want all of my animals to be on there." So I just have a folder where they email me those. I download them and I save them with the reader's name and the pet's name on the picture, and it's just a snap. Just go grab one I haven't used, stick it in the newsletter, a minute, and it's done. And that gets them more involved in the community. So any way that you can find to get them to interact with you is the key. And it also makes you more comfortable once you start feeling like you know some of these readers. Um, I have one reader from Australia that every time I release a book, by the next morning, there's already an email that says, "When is the next one coming?" And I say, "Anne, if I could just write them as fast as you read them, it would be amazing." But it made me feel like I know her, even though I've never met her. And that kind of started me on that path of feeling like I'm talking to people that I know. And once you start feeling like you're talking to people that you know, it becomes a whole lot easier. It's like having a phone conversation with your friend from work who transferred and doesn't work with you anymore. And that makes it a lot less terrifying and anxiety producing, especially for those of us who are introverts. Even if there's, three people that you're interacting with, if you envision those people when you're writing that newsletter and you're sharing something with them, then it makes it a lot less intimidating. For one of my series, I did a prequel. And I did that. I put it up onto StoryOrigin. I started promoting it and building my list before I even released the series. And that was amazing to be able to do that and have that. And it continues to serve. I also put it up on Amazon for 99 cents just so that I could um, claim my author page and start getting all that set up before my big launch and all those things. And what I quickly learned was that there were a lot of people who were buying the book instead of getting it free. So I understand that not everybody wants to sign up for every newsletter, and but I also know that email address is the most valuable thing for me, much more so than selling a little 26,000 word prequel. So I started raising the price on Amazon, and I still sell it. Now it's $3.99, or they can get it free. by signing up for the newsletter, which makes it even more valuable to sign up for them to sign up to the newsletter to be able to get how the story started. With the second series, I started out trying to write a prequel, and it went to a full length book, and I said I can't give this away. Um, and so I'm in the process of writing a side story that'll be an episode that is only available. I'm doing it for a Kickstarter fundraiser for someone in need, and then once that's done, then I will make it a magnet, and it may only be available to newsletter subscribers. But along the way of doing that series, once I realized that there wasn't going to be a prequel, I started doing other things for those subscribers. And in my onboarding sequence, I actually have two different ones depending on which series they come in from. And on that particular series, even if they come in later, I have links to those freebie things that I did for the subscribers, which included a character sketch of the main character written as a book, but it's basically her backstory and how her personality. So I do a really in-depth character sketch for my main characters, and I just converted that into a book. And that series features things like yachts and yurts. And so there are Pinterest boards that are secret. You have to have the link to get to them. And so the subscribers get those links so that they can kind of visualize what I was visualizing when I was writing. And those kinds of things are really fun. But the book, even if it's a short story, is the easiest thing to use in cross promos and swaps and those sorts of things. In one welcome sequence, I think there's only 3 because it really needs to be fixed and updated. And in the other one, there are 5 because it goes through the welcome sequence for one series and then throws back to the previous series. And I have not updated that first series to do the same with the second. And so, but I do think that 5 is a great number to try to hook that reader and get them interested in you enough that they will stay. My first one is always just thanks for joining, and here's the link to your free thing. Um, and that goes out right away. And I think that not requiring anything extra at that point is a great thing. But then I do more of a getting to know you, getting to know me thing. And I learned this from Brian Cohen. And I always end, or not necessarily end, but at the near the end of every email, I ask a question. One of those questions that's really hard for people to resist answering and that's very easy for them to answer. It doesn't have to be really thought provoking. It can be something as general as, do you prefer camping or a 5-star hotel? Hit reply and let me know. And when they do, I always answer them back because that's what starts that ball rolling. So there's a getting to know me, and then this is a little bit about what I write, and I'm glad that you're here, and what are your favorite things? That's kind of where I go with that, and then they just then funnel right into the normal sequence. And typically what I focus on in my newsletters, like I said, I most of the time I don't even know what I'm going to write about until I sit down to write it. My most popular email was about bird poop. So if you can entertain them, if you can make them laugh, if you can make them relate to where you are, what's going on in your life. This was about, it was bird hatching, and there were nests all the way around our beach house, and they were flying through our house, and And they love that kind of stuff, and it keeps them coming back and reading for more. They don't have to be long, they don't have to be a book. Like I said, even including the links and all, I can usually do it in under an hour. Many of us did not start with a sequence, an onboarding sequence. So if you don't know what that is, and you don't worry about it, you can catch up on that later. I totally. I think presenting a good product is the most important thing that you can do. So if you don't have a logo yet, that's okay. You don't have to have one. But it gets to be a big fun thing when later down the road you get one. You can say, hey, y'all, look what I got. And they can be excited with you. And I think that that's totally great advice. I really can't say enough good about Story Origin. I did all the others before. And eh, your set of tools is what makes Story Origin just so amazing and wonderful. And I often call Story Origin my VA because it keeps me organized. You know, I get these reminder, hey, you got a newsletter due today. Oh, yeah, I got to add that. So, thank you for creating this magnificent product that is so very valuable for authors, and for doing these types of events too, to help new authors who are just getting into it, because it can be really overwhelming. There's a lot to learn, and everything can become overwhelming when there's so many things, even uncomplicated things. And the newsletter doesn't have to be complicated. Um, and so I thank you for letting me share and for being here. I learned a few things too.